Greetings, prop makers of the world! We are on yet another exciting adventure into the world of prop making! Well, if you are into that kind of thing, of course. This is my assistant, McCoy. He wasn't really willing when we first started making arrangement for him to help me with my props, and then with some negotiations and some talk, anyways, we're building manacles for this prop video, and this is a fantastic easy build using nothing but 1-inch styrofoam and some neodymium magnets. This is all built so it can be unclipped and clipped back together again very easily while still remaining strong and the ability to put it onto props, because in many cases you can't get hands and the such through these openings because they're just simply not big enough. This chain here is a fantastic design that is once again made out of 1-inch styrofoam, and it's very convincing. I've used it on manacles, but you can use it on so many different things. Regardless, I won't talk your ear off. I will just let you get straight into the video. Enjoy! So, you've decided to stay. Okay, yeah. So, we're going to be working on the manacles, which you saw at the beginning of the video, which I have yet to see myself because it's still being built while you see this. So, you got to look into the future. Lucky you. So, what you're going to find on my Google Drive down below somewhere there, you're going to find this template for the manacle itself. You're going to find this template for the chain, and you're going to see one other template, which for some reason I cannot find right now. It's the keychain, and I'll show you what it looks like on the final chain when we actually get to that point. But you'll need 8 of these, and you'll need, what is this, 2, 4, 6, 7 of these. So in the file it'll be labeled how many you need and exactly what you need. And the other one I'm going to sneak a piece here. That's the key that you're going to be doing for the third one, and you need 2 of those. So once we've got to that point, you're going to have these all cut out. Now, you'll see, I'm going to pull the shackle off because we'll deal with that one later. This one here is our main concern. This is our main chain. And you see that it's built a bit beefy. It's because this is made out of inch foam, and I'm worried about it breaking down. So I went with heavier than anything. You'll see this little channel in here is all set up. Well, on this one, I hate to say it, you're going to need a foam cutter. You can do this manually or with a scroll saw. Your outcome will work. Just know that I'm doing everything here with a hot knife that I turned into a table. Yeah, maybe I'll show you at a different day that video and how I went about making that. But regardless, you can do this with a hot knife or a scroll saw. Best results are with a hot knife. So what you're going to do now is when you go to cut this, you'll come around, and when you come through this part with the hot knife, what you're going to do is you're going to wiggle it. You're going to cut this whole piece out. Then once you're done, you're going to end up with something like, let's grab the other one. It's a bit nicer. You end up with something like this. And you can see each of these 2 channels have got where the hot knife went through and where I forced it to wiggle through the channel. The main thing is that the main reason I did that is it looks neat when it's all finished, because when you're going to heat shrink this, the glue contracts and it looks like a bit of a kind of a weld or a forge mark. The other thing is it helps index these when you want to actually go glue them, so you've got natural strength there regardless. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly go over how to get these from this into the chain that you need. So grab your knife, don't cut yourself, and now what we're going to do is you're going to hold this. It's hard to do this on camera without actually cutting myself, because normally I work a bit differently. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go through, and every 90-degree surface we're going to knock down into a nice edge. And by doing so, you end up with, literally, as quick as you want, the chain. I'm only going to do the top of this one because I'm just going to show how they all link together, because you'll see after how I went about doing this. But it goes quick, and you want these cuts, believe it or not, to be a bit rough. You don't want them to be nice and perfect. Now, for the inside edge here, what I do is you take your knife and you put in a score mark at about, 45 degrees or towards the edge. And what this does is it gives you something to work towards. So now you take the knife, you dig in there to create that chamfer, do the same thing here, and what happens is that cut gives it a natural break point, so it makes it just a bit easier to get these cuts made. There we go. Okay. And I'm actually doing one of these live so you can see just how quickly they actually go when you're going to be doing them, because you're going to be doing 7 of these, and the manacles, like I said, you're doing 8 of those. So once you're done this side, you'll do the exact same thing to the other side. Now what happens is the next spot here is a bit slower because you're gonna have to wait for glue. I use wood glue, just the yellow stuff you can pretty much get anywhere. I like it with styrofoam because A, it's non-reactive. Styrofoam is so reactive to so many adhesives. It drives me crazy because I'm always looking for that perfect glue that does not melt styrofoam. If anybody knows it, leave it in the comments. Okay, so now what you're going to be ending up doing is you're going to be making multiple of these. And did you see how it's all smoothed out like this? So what we're going to do is, because I'm not perfectly set up just yet, these are going to be put in like this now. And once these are all cut down, you will find that this will feel very tight initially. And that's because A, everything's not cut down yet. Now, what's going to happen is once we've got these in like this, you're going to glue these together like this after you've got them all chamfered down. Once they're all chamfered down, then you're going to take a heat gun. Now, you'll want to wear leather gloves for this because you're kind of firing directly into your hand. So once you've got it to here, you're going to have the whole chain put together and you're going to heat gun the whole chain at once. And what it's going to do is it's going to shrink all this foam just gently, and it's going to make these chain links a lot more, you're going to have a lot more room to play with them. But you're going to have to wait for the glue to set, because you can see if there's no glue there, life is miserable. And right now there's zero flexibility because none of these edges are chamfered. It works out really well once you've got it all done. I'll show you the result of what happens. But anyways, once you've got this all heat gunned for the first run, you're going to have these links where you can set them up. We're going to go to the finish chain so you can see exactly what happens. So this is the finish chain. And you can see that everything is a little bit looser than it was before. Your registration or your gaps are so much smaller. And these are the keys I was telling you about. This is where the manacle attaches to. And you're going to actually heat gun quite a few of these. Now, once this is all put together as a foam, I used a heat gun on the entire length until it loosened it up just lightly and it melted all of my surfaces, so I had a nicer surface. Then, in order to make these chain links a little bit happier, so they moved a bit gentler, I put on a leather glove, and what I did is I hit right in there with the heat gun. And what happens is it melted just this spot here, so these links here move more like a natural chain does. You do the whole thing. If you got a tight spot, hit it with the heat gun again. Just be careful. Don't do it too much because you'll end up melting the whole thing. And once you're all linked up together, you're going to have a chain that looks like this. So once again, like I said, it's 7 links total and 2 end caps. Now these end caps, you're going to be chamfering it like this, like normal, but on this part here, you just want to do a very gentle chamfer, not as aggressive as the rest of it. Our manacle has to hook up into this. So that's what we're going to be doing. Now, once you've got this all done, you've got an option here. I'm going to be spray painting this because I want a bit of resilience on the finish. If this is going in a position where it just like hangs on a wall and you don't have a lot of movement, you can get away with acrylics because this little bit of rub isn't going to knock too much off. And you'll want to varathane this whole thing when you're all done, just to seal up the color because it's got movement. Anytime you have a prop with movement, paint likes to rub off. So you just got to be mindful of that when you do it. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to swing over here and sound really unprofessional. But I'll give you an example of what's going on now. So once we've got the chain all finished, that'll take a while. It's not viciously bad. We're going to be working on the next spot here. We're going to be going over a few fun things here. So this is the manacle template. You can see right now it's a little bit rough. This has been wood glued together. Once again, I love the way wood glue bonds styrofoam. This is so nice and strong, and it's still sandable, which is nice. Now, once we've got this to this point, you're going to go through here, And you're going to be rounding off these corners. Just a little bit. Oh gosh, nobody better see me cutting right onto the table. I wasn't cutting on the table. It's a trick of a camera. You know, he wasn't doing that. So, what's going to happen is we're going to be putting a rivet here, but this is the fun part on attaching this to here. I'll just quickly show you what I'm going to do, and then I'll come back and show you when it's all done. So, you have a problem with styrofoam. Once again, almost any glue melts this stuff. It, once again, drives me crazy. We're also going to go through and chamfer this. I'll talk about that after, but I want to get this part out of the way. I needed a larger surface area to glue, so I could use like a wood glue or something. And these are neodymium magnets. But the problem is these neodymium magnets are strong as heck. And if I used any of my normal glues to hold it directly into the styrofoam, it would rip the magnet right out because there's almost no glue that can live with that. So what I did is, using 2-part epoxy, I epoxied a magnet to a cent coin. Check them. A lot of these have steel cores on them. I use the one with the steel core because the magnet sticks to it and allows the glue to set. It just gives that extra bit of like stickiness to make the everything stay together. So I'm going to be using this. Now I got this big surface area that I'm going to be using to attach that to there. Now once that one is in place, we're going to be drilling a small hole, not on this one, but on this one, because I needed a joint that rotated. The second one is going to be going right here, and we're going to be drilling a small hole. So what happens is, when you want to put the manacle on, those two neodymium magnets snap together. But yes, oh god, they're so good. The penny gives me a big backing of which the glue will hold without pulling the magnet off of the work. Now look at that, my epoxy's not completely set there. That's how I went. Let your epoxy set. Slow setting epoxy, actually. I thought that stuff would have been done by now. Anyways, you can see they want to be together. You can see what I'm going to do. You're going to end up building 4 sets of these, 2 for each side of the manacle. Because what's going to happen here is, you can see this one was glued and I was clamping it. This is going to be clamped on either side of this like that. So you can see that it gives a, it's going to bring it up a little bit more. There we go. It goes like this because there's a pin. Technically, that's the pin that holds it all together, and that's how our manacle gets made. This looks big, but actually I measured it up for my wrist, so maybe I just got a big wrist. But regardless, I didn't want it to be tight because you want it to be kind of larger than life when you're making props like this. So anyways, I will shut up now. I'll be back after I get this part here all chamfered down, and I'll show you how we go about attaching these magnets to here, magnets to here, and how we go about texturing this. So, I'll be back. Oh, the chain, it is better. So, here we go. I'm going to go over what happened with the chain here, and why, with the spray paint that I was talking about, how it works out here. So you can see, the spray paint actually melts the styrofoam, and that was kind of the intention here, but not consistently. I wanted it to melt it enough where it gave it character. This is miserable painting in here because each of these you have to pull apart and spray paint on the inside. 360 degrees on a chain is not fun, but you know, you can, your first coats make them light and then follow up with heavier coats because then it won't melt the styrofoam as much. But you can see it just ends up with such a great texture. And the other thing is the spray paint, since it melts the styrofoam slightly, and the heat gun, this has got a really good feel to it now. It doesn't feel like styrofoam, it actually has some strength to it. Now, we're going to get down to here. You can see here, what I talked about earlier was neodymium magnets. The only thing that I made a mistake on is you don't need 4, you need 8 of them. So you see here that these have been wood glued on. I'm hoping the wood glue is going to stay here, because I learned, I was researching, that neodymium magnets are affected by heat. So using hot glue may wreck them. So I'm trying this. If not, I'm going to go find a different glue later on. I have to do something about the glue that I'm using with styrofoam. And the same thing on this end. Oh, look at that. It's not completely lined up. So you can see how this is going to be the neodymium magnets. These are still drying, so I got to be very careful that they don't go to each other because they'll rip the glue off before I can even say anything. Now, we were working on these earlier. And you can see here, what I did is I chamfered the edge. And under here, this is, I can't show you very easily because they're all attached now. What you want to do is you can see that this magnet is embedded to the point that when you click on, let's see if I can find one that is almost dry. I think this one is. So when you click this magnet on, oh, that's not the one that I need. That you have to be sure that when you're doing this, all your poles are correct, because there we go. This is set up in such a way that all the poles are correct. Now you can see we have a bit of movement there. It's hinged and it works really great. You can see how I embedded the upper magnet in, so when it goes in, only the penny is showing, because you don't want it to be so flush that it doesn't get a good contact. I did this so it did have that good contact. Now, I'm gonna regret this after, but we'll finish off with this first. So these are dollar store gems that I just stuck on as rivets, and then I just used the Dremel on the top. And the surface up here is the exact same thing, using a drum on a Dremel. Just hit the surface and then heat seal the whole thing like we have before. And look at that. See how I was talking about how the glue had not set and I was going to regret it? That's exactly what just happened there. Let's see if this will stick now. Oh, see, it was almost set. I can feel that glue is just about done. So what happens is then I just hit it on the side a few times. Do as much weathering as you want, and then once again, spray paint it black. Because this down here sat, it really pooled and really corroded it. But I'm really happy with how that looks and how that turned out. And you can see that I didn't do it on this one. I did it on this one. You change it up. Then you get into with a bit of character on each of these. These haven't been dry brushed yet. They look a lot better the moment they've been dry brushed. The color of this is the flat iron spray paint. Made by, I think it's Krylon. Yes, I'll make sure that I put it down in the video description of what I actually used here. So once these are all spray painted and you've got all of these embedded, I just cut these in with Dremel and then used wood glue to hold these in. And you can see the wood glue has been setting overnight. Really strong bond, didn't melt the styrofoam. You can see I had a little bit of it was a little bit of a negotiation to get that done right. Now, the only other thing we have to do, and this is, I don't even think I'm going to put a template on this one because it's so simple that it's so straightforward. Now, what this is when this all goes together, this is the, I got to be careful here because this glue is still drying as well. Oh, I was pushing again. So there we go. So that's going to go here. And what this acts as, you know what, I'm going to click that in, just as long as I don't pull it apart again. Now, this one here is, you can see, just as a quick mention here before I forget, one of these is to the center and one of these is to the edge. The edge one is to match up with the manacle here. Do your own sizing, and when you go to do this, what you do is you put this in place and then you just mark the center of where you want it there and the mark center of there. So when you attach these magnets and you drill these holes, that it's got a good spot. Now, what this is for, this little spacer here, is just to give you the other side. So you can see that when you're all done, that's how the manacle goes together. Very easy now to take apart to fit a hand in there, because, oh yeah, my hand just barely fits in there as is. And look at that. Oh, I pulled the glue again. See, this is what happens when I'm trying to not rush things, but trying to show everybody what's going on. Normally I would like not touch this for a day, and those magnets are so good. I wouldn't touch this for a day, but I'm just gonna leave that now and pretend I didn't do that. Only the most professional for you guys. But it's a good show that everybody screws up when doing prop work. Have fun with it. So anyways, I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to keep my mucky little fingers off of it for about 2 hours. It'll be like 5 seconds for you. But anyways, when I'm back, I'm going to, next time you see this, I'll have dry brushed all of this and I'll put the age on and I'll go over what I did on that. Then when we're all finished, we're going to varathane the whole thing and we are done with the manacles. I'll be back. All right, we arrive at our destination. Yay, manacles are all done. Okay, just a few little tiny things before I forget, so I can mention them. I mentioned that I was wood gluing these in, and it didn't work out too well, so I ended up hot gluing them in instead. So you can see here that the whole chain is done up beautifully. I put a little bit of silver dry brushing on it, and then a little bit of raw umber to just give it a bit of color, and you can see how those hinges in there work. So you can see how they will be able to recasp and they'll re-click quite positively there. And then what that does allows you to pretty much take this thing on and off without really having to damage a prop, and it looks really cool because you can actually put it around items that are bigger than what they actually appear. Anyways, so all said and done, that's the chain. You will see the finished one at the beginning of the video, and hopefully it obviously did turn out pretty good. Thanks so much for tuning in. Oh, before I forget, this chain is really good for lots of other props other than manacles. I just wanted to have a full prop set with the chain in it to have some fun. Use this chain elsewhere. The process behind it is fantastic, and it's actually pretty quick. And the best part is this whole thing is just so light. Anyways, thanks for tuning in once again. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please throw a comment down below. I will answer them in a somewhat expedient manner. And if you have any suggestions on things you would like to see moi build, let me know. I really always am looking for ideas. I've got a really big list of ideas that's coming anyways. But if you have something specific that you think that you would like to see my spin on it, by all means, throw it my way. I'll have some fun with it. Regardless, I have nothing else to say. Have a good one, all. And, oh, that's what I forgot. If you liked the video, please hit that like button right about there. And if you really, really like the video, you can hit that subscribe button right there. It'd be greatly appreciated, and it helps me spread my insanity to the world. Have a good one, all.